Hey guys, Mike Charles here for DJ Tech Tools. Recently, I changed my DJ setup from a MIDI controller that included a built-in sound card to one that did not. So I went out and I picked up myself one of these. It's an Audio Control 1 from Native Instruments. This was a no-brainer. It is a sound card, it is a MIDI controller, and it has a pair of stereo outputs on the back. There's only one problem. 1/4-inch outputs here, RCA inputs in my mixer. So I am done with buying custom cables. I am also tired of breaking RCA cables and having to spend a lot of money to replace them. So I decided I am going to build my own custom cable. And today I'm going to show you how you can as well, using some tools that you probably already have around your house and some dirt cheap stuff materials that you can buy right off of the internet. So what we're going to do today is we're going to build a 1/4-inch on one end, RCA cable on the other end, 100% custom, dirt cheap. Let's get started.
So let's take a look at the tools that you're going to need for this project. You're going to need a pair of wire strippers. You're going to need a pair of needle nose pliers, a soldering iron, in this case a 30-year-old soldering iron that I inherited from my grandparents. Prior to the making of these cables, it hadn't been used in at least a decade, but I told you we were doing this on the cheap. Some solder, some electrical tape, and a piece of cardboard just to make sure your workspace stays nice and clean. Some additional tools that you may want to consider include a old school hand file, a pair of side cutters, a pocket utility knife, the little scissors come in real handy, some coffee, and a dog. The coffee will help keep you nice and alert, and the dog is going to be great for moral support. As far as materials are concerned, you're going to need some wire. In this case, I have stranded, shielded copper wire. Some braided nylon sheathing. This is going to give your final product some extra protection and a professional finish. And of course, your connectors. RCA connector and a 1/4-inch connector.
So the wire that I'm using today is a 4-conductor 22 gauge stranded shielded copper wire. The shielding is going to protect it from outside interference, which is definitely something you're going to want in a DJ booth. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take the green, red, and white wires, strip them and combine them to create a positive channel. And then I'm going to take the black wire and the drain wire and combine those to create a ground. If you only have a 2-conductor wire, you won't need to worry about that. White can be your hot or positive, black can be your negative or ground, and you'll be good to go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that, and when I'm done combining it, it's going to go into my RCA connector. I'll open that up. And the positive is going to go right here in the center. Some include a little tab that you can solder to. This one does not. And the ground or wire is going to come right here and be fed through this hole like so. And then on the other end is going to be our 1/4-inch connector. And what that actually has a nice tab for me to solder to for my positive. And then I'm going to, again, put my negative or ground wire right through here. Okay, so I've combined my two wires. I have my positive and I have my ground wire. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take my ground wire and I'm going to feed it through the hole here, like so. And then I'm going to take the positive and I'm going to shove it into that hole in the center, like that. Okay, and then I'm going to take my ground wire and I'm going to fold this back like that. Next, what I'm going to do is I have cut off a tiny little piece of electrical tape and I'm going to feed it in the center here just as an extra piece of insurance to make sure that my wires will not touch each other. So let me just do that real quick. Like that. There you go. And that's just going to be there to make sure that when I solder these things together, I don't get one touching the other. Now that I'm all set with that, I can begin soldering. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my old soldering iron out. I'm going to touch it to here, and then I'm going to use some solder to tack this thing down. So let me just readjust this a little here, like that. That actually didn't come out very bad. But if you add a little too much solder to your place, what you can then you do is use the file and just use the file and file it right down so that you'll be able to get your sleeve back on it when you're done. Alright, so I forgot to show you the soldering of the positive here, but take my word for it, I did actually solder the positive right here. So now that you've got your soldering complete, what you do is you're going to take your needle nose pliers and you're going to pinch around the wire like so. And your RCA end should now be in pretty good shape. So I've cut my other end to length, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take the nylon shielding and I'm going to open it up and I'm going to feed it onto here. It's a little tricky to get it started, but once you do, it's actually not so difficult. You're just going to feed it across. You notice it's quite expandable. Okay, so I've finished sheathing my cable now. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to take a nice healthy length of electrical tape and I'm going to wrap it around this entire end over here like so, and just to make sure everything stays together. Now if you had shrink wrap, this would be a good time to use it. I don't have any. Electrical tape works just fine. Okay, so now that I have my end all nice and wrapped up in electrical tape, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come to my other end and I've got my RCA cap on it and I'm going to feed this all the way through my wire, loop that all the way around here, and I'm going to bring that up, and I am just going to bring this up. I'm going to cap my end and I am going to screw this on nice and tight. Okay, so there you go. One end is now completed. At this point, what we need to do is we need to make sure on the other end that we feed the cap for the 1/4-inch cable onto the wire now, because once we solder the wire, we wouldn't be able to get it on. So down on the 1/4-inch end, I've done the same thing over again. I've put my positive to the tab that I showed you earlier before, and the ground I have soldered to the outside piece here. This is a good time to show you why those side cutters come in handy, because I've got a lot of excess here and I can just take it and I can snip it off like that. And then what I'll probably do here is take my file and I'll file this down a little bit so that I'll be able to slide my cap on nice and easy. I'm then going to wrap it in duct tape and pull the sleeve over and be done.
And that's it. Do this a second time and you'll have a stereo pair. How confident am I in these cables? I'm using them for my next gig here. Take it easy, guys. This has been Mike Charles for DJ Tech Tools.